Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Pass Pirate Pay, the movie discussion show. My name is Ken. I'm your host, and alongside my co-host, Andy.
Hello, Ken.
Hi, Andy. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you.
Oh, absolutely. Happy winter solstice. That's coming up.
And Festivus. Joyous Festivus to you.
Whatever you celebrate.
That's right. I hope you're ready for today's format-busting episode of Pass Pirate Pay. Instead of our usual trifecta of movies, this week we're going to be doing a special edition to the Better Than Gigli segment.
Yeah.
Where I discuss Red 1 and see how it stacks up or stacks down, I guess, against Gigli. And then we're going to each be discussing our 3 favorite Christmas movies of all time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a naughty and nice thing, right? You give me the punishment of sending me to see Red 1, but then, but then we get to talk about some of my favorite things. So
yeah.
It's a little bit of everything for the people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And this is part 1 of our Christmas episode.
Yes, this is the first Christmas episode of the year. We're going to be doing at least one more, maybe more even.
There's plenty of Christmas movies.
We've got a lot of Christmas to talk about.
We don't want to over Christmas everything, though, so I think just 2 is fine.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Then we'll do it's like a year-end wrap-up, I think.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Like I said, we're going to jump right into another Better Than Gigli segment.
Okay, so hold on. The theme...
Yeah, so you have this thing where I get to watch these movies and you don't have to.
I don't have. It's more fun when you explain them to me.
Yeah, of course. I get it.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer for this, I remember I was at Alien Romulus, and they played that trailer before you and Mark got to the theater, and I was so sad because it looked like the shittiest movie that had ever been made in the world.
Yeah.
And I was so sad you missed that trailer.
Yeah. So. This movie, what can I say? I can say this. Holy shit. This is a terrible movie. This movie
That's going to be in the Rotten Tomatoes in your blurb.
Yeah, this movie, you mentioned the trailer. You already know exactly what this movie is. You haven't seen it, but you know what it is.
Yeah.
The trailer does an excellent job of letting everyone in on exactly the kind of shit that you're going to be getting into when you see this movie. This movie is bad. I mean, very bad. And it is bad in perhaps the most obvious way. This might be the most obvious movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Like 5 minutes into the movie, you already know exactly every beat that the movie is going to hit. There is nothing that is surprising. So the movie, I guess, a short recap is about Chris Evans plays this internet troll guy who he can like track anybody, and he's just on the internet stealing stuff. He's a criminal, and he has to steal stuff because he's got a gambling problem that's obliquely mentioned a couple of times.
Okay.
So he helps a Christmas witch played by Kiernan Shipka from Mad Men. If anybody's seen Mad Men, she was Sally Draper. Chris Evans locates Santa using some geological equipment that he hacks into. So she's able to kidnap Santa because she and Santa are both these immortal beings, and they're both very concerned with people being naughty and nice. But all of the immortal beings in this movie, and there are a bunch, are very concerned that Santa doesn't do enough to punish naughty people. Like Santa just makes his list.
I agree.
Santa makes his list and he checks it twice, right? But if you're naughty, what's going to happen? Maybe you get a lump of coal, whatever. But
that never fucking happens, though.
Right, of course.
You knew some shit kids when you were growing up, and they got bikes and cool shit. Yeah,
exactly. But Santa's thing is, we're just gonna punish. We're gonna reward people for being good, and that's gonna be enough to make the world a good place. And everybody else, especially this Christmas witch, is like, no. So she kidnaps Santa, and she's gonna use his power to deliver these magic snow globes to all of the naughty people in the world. And when they open up their magic snow globes, they'll be imprisoned within them.
Oh, Jesus
That's
Christ.
the plot of the movie.
Dumb.
Yeah, really, really.
And
stupid.
let me say something. J.K. Simmons plays Santa.
J.K.
in this movie,
Simmons
right?
is Santa,
and he's like yoked Santa.
He's jacked Santa. And the
He's
Rock,
Schillinger Santa.
yeah, and the Rock is his bodyguard.
Okay.
Basically, everybody in this movie is jacked. Like, there's this. I don't know if it's in the Rock's contract that he doesn't do movies with people who are not in shape. Like, here's a major thing I don't understand about this movie. The reason why Santa is yoked is never explained. Like, every mythology of Santa Claus, every time we've ever seen Santa Claus in the world, he is a jolly fat man.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he's in super shape and he's doing 500,000 push-ups a day or something. And it's just like, wait a minute. Why is this happening? Don't worry about it. We're never going to explain it. It's not important. We're not talking about it.
It's just dumb action. It's just dumb action movie.
It's a dumb action movie. Exactly. And there's a lot of like, I guess, appealing to Republicans. I'm going to get into that a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
The jingoistic USA crowd.
Yeah.
Because at one point, Santa is given an escort from some fighter pilots from a U.S. Air Force base. I mean,
just every aspect of testosterone.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, I just don't understand it. And none of it is ever explained. It's so stupid. Another thing that happens is, this is in the trailer where Santa Claus goes up to the reindeer and he's like, "Hello, ladies. Why are you all so excited?" Right? And it turns out that the reindeer just are into the Rock or something because he's there. And it's like, "Oh, your boyfriend's here," right? Except the reindeer all have giant antlers, which means that they are male.
Female reindeers have antlers.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Because female reindeer don't shed their antlers and males do.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
and they shed them in the winter, which means it is female reindeer that are pulling Santa's sleigh.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I just read that today, actually.
Huh. That's interesting.
I'm not sure if it's true. I think I saw it on the internet.
That's different from deer, right? Because female deer don't have antlers. Only bucks have antlers.
Right, but I think reindeer are different.
Okay. All right. Well, apparently Red One was trying to teach me a nature lesson that I flat out ignored.
We will fact check that, and if I am wrong, it will be cut out of the show.
All right. Well, I hope no one hears this part then. But yeah, so once again, the reindeer are in love with the Rock.
Okay.
And that is a one-off joke. I'm guessing because they thought it would be funny in the trailer. Never ever mentioned again. We're never talking about it again. Let's just move on. Like, this is just one of those things that countless times where something is mentioned for a stupid joke or for any kind of reason that is never explained, and then is never mentioned again.
Doesn't serve the story at all.
Nothing at all.
That's a lot of fat.
Yeah,
it's in a story.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, this movie tells you what it is right away, right? So the movie starts. I'm sitting in the theater and I'm looking at my phone during the commercials and stuff, waiting for the movie to start.
Yeah,
and the movie starts with this just tremendously generic music and dialogue, so much so that I think the movie was probably going on for about 60 seconds before I realized that it had started. I look up from my phone and was like, "Oh, this is the movie." I thought I was just listening to more commercials. Like, that's what's going on.
It just has a commercial vibe.
Yeah, exactly. It just sounds like a commercial. Ridiculous. So we're introduced to Chris Evans' character. He's about to break into some government building so he can get the information that he needs to hack the Geological Service to kidnap Santa Claus, right?
Yeah.
Before he goes into the building to get this stuff, there's a baby there. And the baby is looking at him and he goes, "What are you looking at?" to the baby. So that's how we're supposed to know that he's an asshole, right?
Okay.
And then after he does what he needs to do, he walks out and he walks past the baby again, except now the baby is holding a lollipop. And I bet you know where this is going. Yes, that's correct. Captain America steals candy from a baby. That's how we know that he's an asshole, right? Like, The Simpsons did that with Mr. Burns 25 years ago. It's just the easiest trick you can do is like, oh, stealing candy from a baby. That's how we know that this guy's an asshole.
Uh-huh.
But then it's also revealed that he has a son that he is estranged from. The kid lives with his mom, and Chris Evans is an absentee dad. And then we also learn that The Rock, who is Santa's bodyguard, is about to retire. And he and Santa Claus have a very serious discussion about why he's retiring.
Okay.
And The Rock is very concerned about the naughty list. Apparently, the naughty list has grown by 22% year over year.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's just, and Santa's like, but it's about the children. It's about the children. And Rock's like, well, I just can't see it anymore. And it's a very serious discussion. The world is getting too naughty and The Rock can't handle it. So right away, what we know is that Chris Evans is going to learn how to be a good person, be a good father to his son, and The Rock is going to rediscover the true meaning of Christmas. And spoiler alert, all of those things happen.
Oh, no, you spoiled it.
I know, because no one could possibly have seen that coming if they were watching this movie. Just never would have seen it coming. Yeah, so this movie, one of the big problems I have with it is, so Rock is very concerned about the naughty list and how people are bad. They're bad people, right?
Yeah.
Except this movie's morality is very questionable. Like, there's apparently some cosmic thing in this universe where people who work for Santa Claus can use every toy store in the world as like a portal to jump from place to place.
Oh, Jesus. This sounds just as convoluted as the trailer looked.
Oh, yeah. So at some point,
giant mess of bullshit.
Yeah. So at some point, they're in the United States, and The Rock and Chris Evans are in a toy store in the United States, and they find that this guy who they need to get in touch with to track down where Santa Claus has been taken to after he's been kidnapped is in Aruba. So they go into this toy store, and they go through the back room of the toy store, and then all of a sudden they're in a toy store in Aruba.
Okay.
And that's just the way things work, right? But while they're in the toy store, The Rock has this wristband that he uses to he can grow and shrink things. It's like a magic wristband.
Okay.
He uses it for whatever magical purposes he needs, basically. There's another thing, it's in the trailer, where he takes a Matchbox car and he points his wristband ray at it, and it grows into the size of a regular car, and they jump in and drive, right?
All right.
So since they're in a toy store, The Rock's like, well, I have this magic thing, so I'm just going to help myself to whatever I need for this mission that we're on. So The Rock just rips off this toy store. He just takes a whole bunch of shit. Like, he takes some Rock'em Sock'em robots that they later use to beat some people up. And he takes a Monopoly set, which is never used. No, nothing but the Monopoly is ever done with. But Rock sure steals it.
Do you think Monopoly paid to be in the movie?
Maybe. I don't know. Is it a good idea for Monopoly to be associated with people stealing it from a toy store?
I don't think they give a shit.
Yeah.
It's The Rock. He was what do you call it? Commandeering.
Yeah,
those toys.
Right. Exactly. So he steals.
Not stealing.
He steals whatever he wants from a toy store, and that's okay. The morality of this movie seems to be, as long as you're doing the thing that I want you to be doing, whatever you do is okay.
Like, the ends justifies the means?
Right, exactly. And it reminded me, let's get a little political here. I hate to do it, but this is the way the movie brought me. The way that Christians talk about Donald Trump. These fucking born-again assholes in this country who have somehow embraced the biggest scumbag in the country as the paragon of Christian virtue.
Yeah.
And when you ask him how they do it, he's like, well, no, he's doing the Lord's work. It doesn't matter that he's a fucking scumbag.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's doing what needs to be done. And that is exactly the ethics of this movie.
Okay.
At some point, they go meet Krampus, who is Santa Claus.
I saw that in the trailer.
He's Santa Claus's brother.
Okay.
And so they go to meet him, and they say some stuff that Krampus doesn't like, and Krampus decides that he's going to kidnap The Rock for all of eternity.
Okay.
And Chris Evans has a brilliant idea where he's like, well, no, because the Krampus is doing this. He's having a slap fight with people. That's apparently how he spends his time.
Of course, slap fighting is very popular now.
Yeah, right. And Krampus is this gigantic, jacked being. He's like twice the size of The Rock. Okay. And it's like, oh no, The Rock's never going to be able to win a slap fight against this guy. Except when he and Chris Evans have been arrested, they've stolen The Rock's magic wristband. But Chris Evans, he's like, no, I'll make a deal with you, Krampus. If my boy beats you in a slap fight, you have to let us go. And so, sure enough, the Chris Evans winds up pickpocketing the person who has The Rock's magic wristband, puts it back on his wrist so that he can slap the shit out of Krampus and they can run away. It's like, well, we made this deal with this guy, but it's okay if we cheat on the deal that we made because we're doing the thing that we need to do at this point. Which doesn't stop Krampus from tracking them down during the climactic fight against the Christmas witch and helping them out. for who the hell knows why. Krampus is like, he just decides that he's on their side now.
After he was cheated out of a slap fight?
Yep. He's like, well, I had a change of heart because apparently the Christmas witch is Krampus's ex-girlfriend.
The enemy of my enemy.
I guess.
Is my friend, right?
But he's also indicating that he's still into the Christmas witch. It's all, none of it makes any kind of sense. I swear if you're trying to make sense of this movie, you're totally wasting your time. None of it means anything. It's all completely without meaning of any kind. It's nonsense. The movie is nonsense. Cheat to win is the lesson of this movie. That's what we learn. That's what we're teaching everyone with this movie.
What about on the trailer? I saw like some big Jack snowmen.
Oh yeah, that's a thing that happens.
Were you gonna get to that, or did you?
You don't really. There's not really anything there other than what's in the trailer. The giant jacked snowmen show up, and oh yeah. So the way this movie does fight scenes, The Rock is involved in a lot of fight scenes because why else would you put The Rock in a movie?
Right,
I guess.
Yeah.
And the thing that he does over and over again throughout this movie is use his magic wristband to shrink himself down to like 3/4 size and become like, I don't know, more nimble and faster, I guess. So there's
just
a lot.
3/4 size.
Yeah, like three. He's like not significantly
like an
smaller.
Elf?
I guess he's not significantly smaller, but he is small enough to like get out of the bear hugs that the snowmen are putting him in and stuff.
Okay.
And so it's all done with like really cheesy looking CGI, and The Rock shrinks down and he's moving in super speed because he's smaller and beating people up in that way. And that's how they get out of the snowman fight. Yeah, the way the snowman fight is resolved finally is that The Rock takes off the carrot nose of one of them and the snowman just melts. And it's like, oh, the carrot is their weakness. So if you just remove the carrot from the snowman.
It's good to know.
Yeah, if you're ever attacked by a 10-foot tall jacked snowman, just go for the carrot. That's the answer. Don't, as The Rock also attempts to kick one of the snowmen in the balls.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do in this movie. A lot of people getting kicked in the balls.
But
it
is
doesn't
a staple
work.
of a high comedy.
Yeah, but it doesn't work. Can't kick a snowman in the balls. They don't have snowballs.
No.
You just gotta go for the carrot. That's the thing, see? Another thing that I thought was really weird at this point, at some point during the movie, various people who work for Santa Claus, they call Chris Evans a shitbag, an asshole, a dickhead, various names like this. And it's just and it's like, is this a kid's movie? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? These are the good guys, and they're just like, listen, shitbag, like. This is just I just don't understand. I mean, I guess if you're a 10-year-old, you're gonna love it. 10-year-olds will probably like this movie a lot, I guess.
Yeah,
is I guess the point I'm trying to make.
I don't know, man. I've found that kids don't even like bad movies.
Yeah,
but I don't know nothing about what kids like.
I know if I were a parent, I would not want to subject my kid to this movie. I would not want my kid learning the lessons this movie has to offer or developing an artistic sensibility that thinks that this movie is okay. I just like I wouldn't want anything to do with it at all.
It sounds like a real shitburger.
Yeah, it's not good at all.
Do you think like when they were pitching this movie, they were like, listen, there's a whole demographic of people that will love this movie?
Yeah.
First of all, it's got The Rock.
Yeah.
We don't have to make it like smart. We shouldn't make it smart.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think we'll
put some patriotic stuff in there.
Yeah. I think the Larry the Cable Guy crowd is going to love this movie. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got cool car chases and it's got The Rock and it's got, fight scenes and Murica. And it's doing all the things to appeal to people who I don't want to talk to.
It's got the leader of the Aryan group in Oz.
J.K. Simmons, I mean, I hope he got paid a hell of a lot of money for this movie. I really do.
Yeah, like J.K. Simmons, I was watching like a wrap-up of his career. Like on YouTube, they do those, like Variety will do like, they'll go through their whole career. And he has had the highest of highs and just some mediocre shit.
Yeah. Well,
like, he like the same time he was doing Whiplash, the same time he was doing like all this, he was the yellow M&M.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is an all-time nadir for him. Like he
probably had to work out a lot too. He's not a young man.
Right, but I mean, you saw him in Whiplash. He's in shape. That man's in shape for sure.
He is. And he was in shape in Oz too.
Yeah. He just keeps himself fit, I guess. So he probably didn't have to do all that much in this movie. The problem I have is that I don't understand why he's in this movie. I understand why he would do it. The answer is money. Yep. But I don't understand why they would want him. I guess to try to attract people who care about good movies. I don't really know. But
and he's a good actor.
He's a good actor, but he is not a good Santa Claus. I would rate his jolliness level in this movie as somewhere between his character in Whiplash and his character in Juno. Like right around there. Not more jolly than Whiplash and certainly than Oz, but like not
more jolly than Oz. You say?
Yes, that's correct. but I would not say that he is a particularly jolly old Saint Nick.
Probably. Who would be a better pick?
Man, I don't know. Somebody more Santa-like? John Goodman? I don't know.
Do you think they were sitting around and going, yo, brah, we need a Santa, but we don't want no fat fuck.
Who's an
We don't want no dumpy
guy?
fat fuck as our no dumpy fat fucks in this movie at all.
But he needs to be old. So who's the old guy who's in shape?
He's like, brah, what about that dude from Whiplash, brah?
Could be.
You're a genius, Rock.
He is a great actor who is totally miscast in this movie, and like slumming it doesn't even begin to describe what he is doing.
Oh boy, I imagine.
Yeah. So then the movie ends with when Santa and the Rock are having their discussion about how the Rock needs to find his Christmas spirit again. Santa's like, you just can't see it, can you? You can't see it. And it's like, well, what is he talking about? We don't really know. So apparently what he needs to be seeing is adults as the children that they once were, and that will fill him with the Christmas spirit. So the movie ends with Chris Evans and his kid reconnected on Santa's sleigh, and the Rock is looking at them, and then Chris Evans becomes himself as a child. And that's how we end this thing. So that's it. That's what I have to say about Red One.
All right. It sounds like a true piece of shit that I will be skipping.
Yeah.
It's a pass from me.
Yeah, that's going to be a pass. So let's get into the Gigli-ometer before we.
Let's get into the Gigli-ometer. I'm curious.
If this is your first Better Than Gigli episode, we got 3 categories. In each category, Gigli scored a 9. So if a movie will be worse than Gigli in that category, it gets a 10. Otherwise, we'll see where they go. So here are the categories. The first category is disrespect for the audience's intelligence.
Okay.
And I give Red One a 7 out of 10.
Oh, that's high.
It's a high score. Not quite as bad as Gigli. Gigli, again, has a hit woman whose heart is melted by a mentally challenged young man. So
what is the title of this category exactly?
Disrespect for audience intelligence.
Do you think that it knows exactly the audience intelligence? And
yes, and I think it has no respect for it.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, the
Fair
morons who are going to like this movie, this is a movie, fuck them. We hate them. We're going to feed them exactly what they want because they are morons. That's what I think this movie thinks.
Fair enough.
That's what I think. The second category is waste of resources, both human and financial.
Oh, I imagine this is going to be pretty high.
Yeah. So this movie cost, I looked it up and said it costs about $350 million to make.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money. And I can't really tell. The CGI is a lot, but it doesn't seem, I don't know, it doesn't seem that great. I don't really know where it went. But the human resources, there are a lot of people whose names you know in this movie. But I would say that like Lucy Liu is in this movie and Chris Evans and The Rock and Kiernan Shipka. But I would say that the only person whose acting ability I really respect in this movie is J.K. Simmons.
Right.
So I don't really think it's that much of a waste of human resources. Like Chris Evans is okay, but he's done so many fucking shit Marvel movies.
Massive waste of money.
The waste of money for sure. But
do you know what the box office is on that?
I have not looked it up. I'm sure it's a lot. I'm guessing this movie's a hit.
So the domestic is 78 million, almost 79.
Okay.
International is 73, worldwide 152.
Ooh, so not even
152
half
million.
yet, huh? And this is at time we're recording this. This movie's been out for what, about a month?
Release date was November 15th.
Okay, so about 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's probably not going to make its budget back. So that's a pretty big waste of money.
Yeah. They're going to affect your score?
Yeah, I'm going to bump it up one. I had it as a 5. I'm going to make it a 6. Okay. I'm going to put this as a 6 for waste of resources.
All right.
And the final category is unpleasantness of viewing experience.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy watching this movie. I don't know if I made that clear, but...
no perks, no small nuggets of...
No, there's nothing worthwhile about this movie. But because it is bad in such an expected way, it didn't really make it that painful for me.
It wasn't terribly offensive. It was
right,
just
like
route.
Right, like listeners of our show will be happy to learn that I enjoyed the viewing experience of Red State less than I enjoyed the experience of watching Red 1.
Okay.
I found that to be more unpleasant. So that is also going to be a 7. The 3 scores are 7, 6, and 7, which is going to be a grand total of 20 out of 30 on the Geelyometer.
That's pretty high.
It's pretty high. Geely was a 27. This is a 20. So just so we're all aware, on the Pass Pirate Pay scale, this movie is a pass. Do not see Red 1 if you value your time or money or anything.
We have to assume that all of the Better Than Giglis are going to be a pass. There might be a shocker in there.
One never knows. I
might be a pirate somewhere in there.
Exactly. I am here for you listeners to watch these movies so you don't have to. But if by any chance there is a movie that you should watch, I will be here to let you know that as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Do you think that one day there might be like a Rocky Horror, like so bad that it's good?
I can't rule it out, but I think that critics are, so we're going by Rotten Tomatoes mostly, right?
Yeah.
So critics, I think, are aware of the so bad it's good phenomenon.
Sure.
And I think that something will escape the bottom of the Rotten Tomato board.
Right, but it could be just for you, though.
Oh, it could be. It could be. It
could be like, this movie was so bad that I had kind of a fun time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just hypothetically.
Yes, I certainly think it is possible.
What is one of those for you? Maybe Joker?
No, because I don't actually think you're talking about Joker Folie à Deux,
Joker
right?
2, yeah.
Yeah. No, because I don't actually think that that's bad. So I don't think that movie's so bad it's good. I actually think it's just kind of good.
Is there a movie out there that is so bad that it's good for you, and maybe others don't agree?
Well, as we discussed in our M. Night Shyamalan episode, I think people think that about The Happening. I really enjoy The Happening. I think it is hilarious.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
But in my opinion, that movie is intentionally as bad as it is. So I think that
because you have a conspiracy theory.
Right. I don't think that movie is an unintentional comedy. I think that is an intentional comedy. So
okay.
I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
As we explore.
Indeed.
All right.
All right, for the second half of our first Christmas episode, like I said, we're going to be doing our top 3 Christmas movies of all time.
Uh-huh.
So I figured we could each count down our favorites.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right into it, Andy. What would you say is number 3 on your list of the 3 best Christmas movies of all time?
So number 3 on my list, and all 3 of these movies I try to watch every year.
Okay.
And I usually succeed. Sometimes I miss one, but I usually watch all 3.
I have the same for my 3. I also try to watch all 3 of mine every year.
So my number 3 is Love Actually.
Okay.
I saw Love Actually in the theater when it came out, and I just thought it was fantastic.
Huh.
I loved how it was a little irreverent.
Yeah.
I loved how they interwove the stories together. I thought that was really brilliant. I thought there was some incredible acting.
Yeah. I love the cast. The cast of Love Actually is
the
great.
cast is just giant heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And there's a scene, and it's a famous scene now. It's the Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman storyline.
Okay.
Where he buys a necklace for the office tart, and she finds it in his coat pocket, right? And then puts it back. And then she opens a present on Christmas Eve, and it's a Joni Mitchell CD.
Okay.
It's the same shape as the box.
Yeah.
And she realizes that necklace was not for me. And she knows that something's going on with the tart.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes, let me just excuse. She's opening present of the kids and goes, let me just excuse myself. So she goes in the bedroom and Joni Mitchell's Both Sides Now is playing. And it's not the young Joni Mitchell version. It's the old, real slow Joni Mitchell version where it's like a few octaves down and sadder.
Okay.
And Both Sides Now, I think, is one of the greatest songs ever written.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite songs on earth.
I don't think I know the older Joni Mitchell version. I don't think I mean, I've seen Love Actually, but not for a long time.
It's so good, especially that song.
Yeah.
Because it talks about love and life and seeing it from two different sides. And then you have this other side of Joni Mitchell who is old and wiser. And it's not that lilting high voice. It's like, I've looked at love from both sides now. It's like, it's beautiful, man. And while this song is playing, the CD that she got, you know, it's on that CD, and she is breaking down just by herself in this room. It's there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's just an incredible moment of acting backed by an incredible song. And there's so many layers to it. And that's just one moment.
Yeah.
Like, there's a million moments in this movie that I absolutely adore. And it's just a fun, good, lighthearted movie and what I also love about it is that it looks at love from a ton of different angles.
Yeah.
You know, you see like love dissolving like that, but you see like unrequited love. You see young puppy love.
Yeah.
You see the Martin Freeman story where he's the body double with the naked girl.
Yeah.
I love that because they're doing this filthy thing, but their conversation is completely pure and innocent.
Right.
You know, and it's just, there's just so many layers, and it's just for the Bill Nye stuff where he's the old rocker.
Yeah,
like,
he's great.
I just love the whole thing. What do you think of Love Actually?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it several years later, but it's probably been 10 years since I've seen it now.
Yeah.
And this is another one, you know, I talked about my rom-com thing where when I was a kid, I just didn't get it. And I did not expect to like this movie, but when I saw it, I really liked it. It's definitely a really good movie.
Yeah. It's my third favorite Christmas movie.
Nice. That's awesome.
What is your third favorite Christmas movie?
All right, my
Ken?
number 3 is Elf.
Elf.
Yeah, directed by Jon Favreau. So this is another movie that is surprising to me how much I like it, because Will Ferrell is not one of my favorites. There are not a lot of Will Ferrell movies that I really like, and I think this is either this or Anchorman is absolutely his best movie. I think this is the absolute best use of the whole Will Ferrell shtick. You know, like his overgrown man-child thing. Yeah, it's just the whole you know. And usually when he's doing it in like a kind of malicious asshole way. But in this movie, he's just so innocent and pure, and he's just a kid, and he's just bumbling into all of these hijinks.
Yeah, I think Elf is like a movie that very, very easily could have gone very wrong.
Yeah,
but just didn't.
Yeah,
just avoided it.
The cast in this movie, there's so many people just doing like fantastic work in this movie. So James Caan plays his dad, Will Ferrell's dad, and he's like so gruff and monosyllabic the whole time, and he works for this president of some children's book publishing company. Yeah, and he's got 2 bumbling idiot writers, and they're played by Andy Richter and Kyle Gass, and they're hilarious. And at one point, they need a new children's book, so they bring in this like legendary children's writer who's played by Peter Dinklage. Yeah, and Dinklage is so like. He's not playing Peter Dinklage in this movie. He is like so like pissed off and serious the whole time, and it's really, really funny. Bob Newhart is the elf who raised Will Ferrell at the North Pole, and he's just doing Bob Newhart.
And Bob Newhart in funny. Anything is funny.
It's just always funny. Yeah. I just love it. And then Zooey Deschanel is the love interest. Like, she's just so perfect. She looks elfin herself, you know. So
it does.
But yeah, she's just great. The music in this movie always gets me. There are a couple of like really great montages set to these awesome needle drops. When Will Ferrell first arrives in New York, they're playing Pennies from Heaven. And he as he's walking around the city and just getting into like stupid little mischief. And that scene is really funny. And then when he's going on a date with Zooey Deschanel, they're playing You Make Me Feel So Young. And it's just like one of those movie moments of pure joy. Like it just it just makes me so happy every time I watch that scene. The scene ends basically with them going to see the giant Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center, and Will Ferrell is of course like in awe of this giant Christmas tree, and it just fills me with so much happiness. Like I just love it. And then Zooey Deschanel does a lot of singing. She's singing Christmas songs in this movie, and her voice is just so perfect. And then the climactic scene of the movie gets everybody in New York to start singing to get Christmas cheer to make Santa's sleigh fly. So Zooey Deschanel starts singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And then Mary Steenburgen, who plays James Caan's wife, she's the second one who joins in, and she cannot sing at all. Like she's totally tone deaf, and it just works so perfectly. It's just great. I just love Elf. It makes me really happy.
Who plays Santa in the movies? Ed Asner?
Yeah, it's Ed Asner.
Yeah, I thought so.
And he's great. You know, he's certainly way more Santa-like than J.K. Simmons.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so that's it. Elf. I love Elf, and I watch it literally every year at Christmas.
I was watching Will Ferrell do a thing about it, and he said he wanted to do all of it in like Rankin Bass, claymation style.
Nice.
But they have a piece, right?
Yeah,
there's a part
very
in it.
small part where there's like animals at the North Pole.
Yeah, they wanted to do that whole thing like that, but they said it's just going to be too expensive.
Yeah, there's a snowman character who's clearly just an homage to the snowman narrator,
like
played
the
by
Burl
Burl
Ives.
in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
At one point, while he's at the North Pole, he's leaving the North Pole. The animals, there's a penguin and a polar bear, and they're waving him goodbye. Yeah. And this giant narwhal comes out of the water, and all the animals are scared. And you're like, oh no, what's this going to be? But the narwhal's just like, bye, buddy. It's just like a happy, oh, goodbye, Mr. Narwhal. It's just really adorable. I don't know. This is one of those movies. It just makes me feel good when I'm watching it.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. All right. So what's your number 2?
So my number 2 is Scrooged.
Oh, Scrooged.
With Bill Murray.
Love it.
I remember I saw this movie with my whole family in the theater when it came out. It was the first time, because I was young. I was probably in junior high, probably like 13 or something. And it was the first time I got A Christmas Carol.
Okay.
It was the first time I realized what it was. You know, I knew about it, and, I'd seen different versions and everything. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really funny. It's like if Saturday Night Live did A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Like a Saturday Night Live movie.
Yeah.
And I think Bill Murray is really good in that, like at playing sincere. Like when he makes the change, I believe it.
Right.
There's
a lot of the movie where he's doing asshole Bill Murray stuff.
Yeah.
But like the stuff in the Ghost of Christmas Past stuff, like when he first meets Karen Allen, and then like you said, after the change, I think that stuff is great. I think he's really great at that.
Yeah, and I think all the ghosts. I mean, the Ghost of Christmas Future is this weird costume thing, but Carol Kane and Buster Poindexter,
both great,
or David Johansen, whatever his name is,
the New York Dolls guy.
Yeah, I think they're really good. I thought David Johansen would go on to do a lot more acting, but he kind of didn't.
Yeah.
Because he was really good in that.
Yeah. I mean, the biopic of that guy's life would be quite interesting.
Yeah, he's done some crazy shit.
Yeah.
The whole New York Dolls thing is a whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I really liked it. I think Karen Allen was really good in it.
Yep, she is. She's really good. John Forsythe as the Marley guy.
Marley Ghost.
Ghost. Yep. Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh, he's great in it.
So funny.
He's great.
So funny. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I just think there's so many quotable lines in it, and it's my favorite version of A Christmas Carol, and there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a favorite version of A Christmas Carol?
I think mine is Scrooged also.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's the best movie version that I've seen, for sure. I like the Muppet Christmas Carol. I like Mickey's Christmas Carol also.
Yeah.
That one's pretty good.
Did you see the one with the mini series with Guy Pearce?
No, I didn't see that one.
So I always watch them, and there's some shitburgers. Like I didn't like the CG one with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I thought that one was stupid. It was like Polar Express-y, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, the original black and white one, I haven't seen it in a very long time, but it didn't really do anything for me.
No,
either.
it's just kind of straightforward, just Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
But the Guy Pearce one, it was like a gritty, like realistic, like hard, nasty look at Scrooge. And the moment I knew this was like a different animal, was when, because it's a miniseries that they fill a lot of time, right? So Bob Cratchit's wife, comes to Scrooge to ask for money for Tiny Tim, and Scrooge is like, "Yeah, I'll give you money, but you got to do something for me."
Oh shit!
and she like fucks him.
What? Is that real? That really
Yeah,
happened?
and she like and she hates it.
Holy
she hates
shit.
it. She's doing it, and he's like, yeah, Scrooge dick.
Jesus.
And he fucks her, and I remember thinking like, okay, when Scrooge makes his turnaround, how is he gonna circle this square when he's bringing in the fucking goose?
Yeah. Fuck.
And he does. He brings him the goose, and he's like, he said, I'll pay for all the medical stuff. He goes, hey, we're cool, right? She's like,
my God.
Yeah, I guess we're cool.
Does he tell Bob Cratchit?
No.
No. Bob never finds out.
Bob never finds out.
Oh my God. Let me ask you this. Does your opinion of Scrooge go down at all, knowing that the very first opening scene probably led to the existence of Red One?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's actually led to a few, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
There have been a few,
badass Santa Claus
movies. Fat Man was one of them.
Yep.
Violent Night is one of them.
Yep.
And then this whole fucking thing.
Oh my God. When I saw the trailer,
Majors.
When I saw the trailer for Red One, the only thing I could think of was, oh God, it's Scrooged. We're just in Scrooged world now.
So yeah, Scrooged is my second favorite Christmas movie of all
good
time.
pick. I love Scrooged.
Your second pick, Ken, is what?
All right, my number 2 is Gremlins.
Gremlins.
Yeah, the original 1984.
This is kind of iffy as a Christmas movie.
Yeah, so
it's kind of die-hardy.
Did people? Yeah, so
a little less.
I think Gremlins is way more Christmassy than Die Hard.
It is.
So yeah, I was looking up today on Letterboxd. They had a list of their 25 highest ranked Christmas movies by their users, right?
Okay.
And all of our movies are on there except for Gremlins. And it says in the intro that Gremlins was actually released as a summer blockbuster, which blew my mind.
It was not released during Christmas.
Yeah. And so was Die Hard for that matter.
Uh-huh.
But that makes more sense. This Gremlins feels so Christmassy to me.
There's a lot of scenes that are very Christmassy.
There's Christmas music all over the place. They're watching Christmas movies every time. Every scene is snowy outside. I mean, it just feels like winter and Christmas to me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this movie is it's not a feel-good classic like Elf. This movie is a lot more acidic, I think. My absolute favorite scene in Gremlins, and one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever, is when Phoebe Cates is discussing why she hates Christmas, because she's talking for the whole movie about how she doesn't celebrate Christmas at all.
Yeah.
And she's discussing why she hates Christmas, and she tells the story of how her father on Christmas Eve never came home, and she and her mom are like, what's going on? Where's dad? And days go by, and the police are looking for him, and nobody can find him. And then one day, like 5 days later, it's cold in the house, so she decides she's going to light a fire. And she's like, and that's when I noticed the smell. And, and then the kicker, the punchline of the story is, and that's how I learned that there was no Santa Claus. Her dad slipped, broke his neck climbing down the chimney on Christmas Eve. And they found him by lighting his ass on fire.
Oh, boy.
And we talked recently about Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Yeah.
And this scene, I feel like it's so iconic that they kind of run it back in Gremlins 2, where somebody says something about Abraham Lincoln, and Phoebe Cates is like, oh, don't even talk to me about Abraham Lincoln. There was this one time in the park where this guy in a trench coat and a beard like Abraham Lincoln came up to me. And somebody's like, don't even talk about that. We don't have time for that. Oh, okay. But they're like, this scene is so good, we got to run it back. But yeah, I just love that scene. And this is also this is a kids movie, right? And you're just flat at saying in this kids movie, Santa Claus is not real, does not exist.
Yeah, I think that's where I found out that Santa Claus didn't exist from Different Strokes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They did an episode about it.
I don't remember when I made that discovery.
Well, actually, I made the discovery when I snuck in. I did a little scientific experiment.
Uh-huh.
And I pretended to be asleep, and I snuck in the living room and saw Mom and Dad putting all the shit together.
Oh, shit. Yeah, see, I never did that. I was a good kid. I always just believed until I didn't. Once I realized there was no Christmas, I just kept pretending for a little while. There was no Santa.
Even when I found that out, I still kept pretending.
Yeah.
But I knew.
Yeah. But Gremlins, it's just a lot of fun. It's just a really fun movie.
I loved Gremlins when it came out. I loved it.
The Gremlins are just assholes. They do some murdering, so it's kind of they do, but
they send that woman up the stairs on the
right, they shoot Mrs. Deagle out of her bedroom window on her stair climbing chair thing, but mostly they're just being dicks, right? Like they spit on the floor and they like tie the dog up to the outside of the house in the Christmas lights. And there's a scene where they're all watching Snow White in this movie theater. All the gremlins are there. And they're just like throwing popcorn at the screen.
They're just totally assholes.
They're just dicks. They're just dicks. And they're having a good time and it's really fun. But there's also like some really fun horror movie-ish kind of stuff in this movie. Like,
there is.
When the science teacher, who's played by Glenn Turman, who would later be the mayor of Baltimore on The Wire.
Okay.
One of my favorites. But he's being stalked by a gremlin and like it's really intense, and then the gremlin winds up killing him. And the scene where Billy's mom is also being stalked by gremlins and she winds up putting one of them in the microwave and exploding him, and that seems a lot of fun. But that's like a really tense scene too. Like it does a good job.
It skirts the line of being like a comedy and a horror really well.
Yeah, exactly. And also the father is this inventor whose inventions are all completely idiotic and they never work right. Mm-hmm. And some of that stuff is really funny.
Yeah.
As I was watching the movie again this year, I noticed for the first time they're in his workshop and he's just got inventions all around. And one of the inventions that's sitting on his desk, I have no idea what it's supposed to be. It's an artichoke hooked up to a couple of wires that lead to a speaker. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And some prop guy, I don't know, just decided, let's put that in there. That's going to be really funny. And I never noticed it before this time. And I was like, oh shit, that's just really funny. But yeah, it's just a fun movie. Like Gizmo is adorable and the gremlins are
I love
dicks.
Gizmo, man. I had a stuffed Gizmo.
As did I. Me too. I loved it. Yeah, so Gremlins is my number 2.
So we both have the same number 1.
Yeah, we discussed this ahead of time, and we were unsurprised to find that we both have.
Yeah, we both have the same number 1. And what is it, Ken?
Our favorite Christmas movie of all time is "It's a Wonderful Life."
It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah. It is the best. So we should discuss the history of "It's a Wonderful Life."
Yeah,
it's really similar to The Wizard of Oz,
right?
Where it kind of flopped in theaters.
Oh yeah, big time.
It didn't do very well.
Yeah,
and because it didn't do very well, it was cheap for TV companies to buy it and just run the shit out of it
exactly
on Christmas.
Yep.
And you and I were both talking that we both remember when they used to do that.
Yep, it was on constantly.
Yeah, they just ran it 1,000 times on 10 different stations.
Yep.
When they did that, I never actually sat down and watched it.
Yeah, I had never seen it either until very much later in life. It seems like that's kind of a running joke in other Christmas movies where people talk about It's a Wonderful Life and then some character will be like, oh, I've never seen that. You've never seen it? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you and I were both one of those people. It was always on and yet somehow we never watched it.
Right, yeah. And I remember the first time I watched it, I think I was about 16 or 17.
Uh-huh.
And there was a colorized version of it,
yeah,
which is terrible.
Right.
But it was just on, right? And I ended up catching it at the beginning. And I watched it all the way through and I'm like, God damn, this is a really good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. My first time. So my mother hates this movie. And so when I was growing up, she's just like, we're not watching that. Like, and I didn't know anything about it. So it was just like, okay, this movie must be terrible. I'll never watch it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then it was right after I graduated college, the first time I watched it. And I hadn't found a job yet. So I was back living at home and I was just taking movies, VHS tapes out of the public library. So I was just going through all of these old movies that I could find because I was super getting into movies at that point because I didn't really get into movies until I was in college.
Right.
So I was just getting into movies and I just decided, oh, It's a Wonderful Life. I'll give that a shot. And same thing. I was like, holy shit, this movie is incredible.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I mean, shit. Like, listen, I'm a fat old man. I'm going to die alone. Movies are all I have. And sometimes I just want to feel things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this movie makes me feel this.
Yeah.
The last, 20 minutes of this movie, it just like makes my heart. I'm like the Grinch when my heart grows 3 sizes.
Yeah.
It just swells up my heart and I'm crying the whole time. And it's just so beautiful and wonderful. I just absolutely love it.
The only thing George Bailey wants is to get out of what's the town called?
Bedford Falls.
Bedford Falls. The only thing he wants is to get out of Bedford Falls, right? His old boss gets him a real nice trunk.
Yep.
He can't wait to get out, right? And every instance where he's going to get out, something
happens.
drags him back in.
Yep.
His dad dies and he has to run the thing, or the depression happens and he has to come back and can't go on his honeymoon even.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And it's just, and he's so selfless. It's just a great movie.
Yeah, he's so great. And it's a longish movie. It's like 2.5 hours long, right? And the first 2 hours of the movie are just showing...
I don't think there's an ounce of fat.
No, I agree. Everything that happens in the beginning, the first three quarters, 4/5 of this movie, whatever, is just showing you the way that this like really good guy, they go out of their way to show he's a good guy. Like you said, he's selfless. He always thinks about other people first. And everything that happens to him is just beating him down. The world is just like,
and he reaches a breaking point.
Him. And and eventually he just can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
And then the movie does a great job of showing you, hey, these are all of the things that were happening at the same time as the world was beating you down, right? Like he has all of these people who love him. He has his family who are really great, and you know, this town that he's been trying to get out of. He cares about all the people there, and they all. It's a mutual love thing that's going on with the town, right? And so the movie does a great job of showing you that even when things seem bleak, maybe you're just not noticing the things that make your life great.
Yeah.
And when all of that information just comes flooding into him, it's just so emotional and so perfect.
Yeah.
You know, the scene where he's running down the streets where after he gets after the world is put back to normal.
Yeah.
And you're like, hello, movie house. And, you know, he's just screaming. It's so joyful and so emotional.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely could not love it more.
Yeah. And I also think that Jimmy Stewart's acting is miles ahead of everybody at that time.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
I've talked to you about this before.
Exactly. When you look at him...
him and Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
Like, feels like they're time travelers.
Yeah, when you look at him in the scenes with, like, Uncle Billy... It's just like, how are these guys the same job? It's so weird.
Like, it was back in the day when, like, acting on stage and acting on film were kind of the same.
Right, exactly. So nobody knew that you didn't have to be that big when you were acting.
Right.
And he was one of the first people who figured out. Yeah, I'm with you. I love Jimmy Stewart. He's one of my all-time favorite actors. And I think, you know, this is his best movie probably. He's fantastic in it. And I just love it. Just love it so much.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I watch it almost every year. Sometimes I'll go to the theater and watch it.
Yeah, I've never seen it in the theater. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I would like
you
that.
should. It's fun.
I would love to. That's
same movie. They don't add anything.
Are you sure?
No. No, they do add some big, like, jacked CG snowmen.
That's what I was hoping for.
Like I want to get you, CG snowman.
That's what I
want to kick you in your snowballs.
Oh, good. Okay. Well,
gotta get the nose, Uncle Billy.
Well, now I'm definitely gonna go see it in the theater. That sounds great. Oh man, so It's a Wonderful Life. Can't recommend it highly enough. I know there are probably a lot of people who listen to our show who are in the same boat as we are. It's just one of those things that's always there that you've never bothered to watch.
Yeah. Or something. There have been movies for me that I think that I've watched because they're just always there.
Right. Yeah.
And then I sit down and watch them and go, oh my God, that was one of them.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that I'd seen it, but I just seen glimpses and pieces.
Yeah.
And when I sat down and watched the whole thing, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, if you are listening to this episode and you've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, I promise you it is well worth your time. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah. Another thing I like about A Wonderful Life, just before we sign off.
Yeah.
Like we said, I don't think there's an ounce of fat in it.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that until the end.
Right.
You know, like all that setup.
Yep.
All that setup is for that end to pay off.
Right, exactly. As all of the characters from every scene in the early parts of the movie come into his house and start giving him money so that he can avoid going. And when you're showing him the world. Yeah, right.
You know, it's all the things that he did.
Yep.
You know, all the things that you saw. And now it all makes sense, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So that's number one for both of us.
That's it.
Should we talk about what we're doing next week?
Yeah. So next week will be our second Christmas episode.
Yes.
And in that episode, we're going to be talking about a couple of foreign language Christmas movies. We're talking about Joyeux Noël. And we're going to be talking about Rare Exports.
Yep.
And then the new release we'll be talking about is the Bobby Farrelly, Jack Black comedy, Dear Santa.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that. Check those out if you dare before listening to our next episode.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. See you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Past Pirate Pay. This episode was produced by the one and only Andy Morris. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. We'd hate for you to miss out on all the fun. Curious about where to stream the movies we talked about? Head on over to pastpiratepay.com. We've got everything listed with handy links on where to watch. You can also join the conversation on our Facebook page or stalk our cinematic musings on Letterboxd. Links are on the site. Got a movie or a TV show you think we should review? Fill out the contact form, or this is cool, you can even text us right through the episode player on our website's front page. Thanks again for hanging out with us. Until next time, keep watching, keep rating, and keep it past Pirate Pay. Ho, ho, holy shit.